Okay, I got a lot of stuff to talk about from this race. Damn, what a finish that was, and somehow Chastain comes out the winner. He led one lap. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. My name is Jet. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. Alright, let's talk about this. Let's just skim over everything that took place in stage 1 and 2, since nothing really much happened aside from a couple of wrecks. There were two accidents, one in stage 1, one in stage 2. The first one involving Daniel Hemrick. He had engine issues or something like that in turn 3, gets bumped by Austin Dillon, comes up the racetrack and collects Chase Briscoe and Chris Buescher. Both of them took pretty hard hits, especially Briscoe, who caught on fire. And then the second accident, this was I guess you could call it the big one on lap 90. On a restart, a stack up takes place. Truex gets on the brakes, everything stacks up, but Wallace gets into the back end of Logano, bumps him into the outside wall, and then Logano comes back on the racetrack, collects 9 cars in the process, like Suarez, who led 28 laps in this race, Cindric, the Daytona 500 champion, Keselowski, and more. And throughout the entire race, it was really the battle between Chevrolet and Toyota. Toyota, specifically Bubba Wallace, was really strong. He won stage number 1. And in stage number 2, again, we saw the Toyotas of 2311 Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing go up against Hendrick Motorsports. But stage 2, Hendrick Motorsports really controlled the tempo of everything, and William Byron would end up winning stage number 2, and he had his other Hendrick teammates right behind him. Now, we had a feeling that would be the case earlier in the race. Manufacturer alliances, or at least team alliances, being very important, but we knew when stage 3 comes, especially near the end, all of that teammate talk goes out the window and is just pair up with whoever you can find. And stage 3 looked like that. I mean, best friends Ryan Blaney and Bubba Wallace, they teamed up and controlled the tempo for majority of stage 3 up until 38 laps to go. Bubba decides he wants to lead, goes to the outside lane, led by Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin to take the lead from Ryan Blaney. Then with 30 laps to go, the final round of pit stops takes place. Keselowski got caught speeding on pit road. That was the second time he was too fast on pit lane. And Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell made contact coming off of pit road, which spins Bell into the inside wall, but no caution, but it did take Bell out of contention. After pit stops, it's now Hamlin that's now out in front, surrounded by Chevrolets of Larson, Jones, Byron, Chastain, and Haley, before the two Toyotas of Kurt Busch and his teammate Martin Truex Jr. Lap traffic then plays a role. Larson jumps on Hamlin with Jones behind him to take the lead, and now the top 5 are all Chevys. And it looked as if, okay, with Chevys now in the top 5, more than likely they're going to stay like this up until 5 or so laps to go. But not necessarily. With 13 laps to go, the outside lanes start to take shape. You have Chase Elliott and his, one of his good friends, Ryan Blaney, on the outside. A big launch, big momentum as they basically tandemed up on the outside lane to get by Chastain, and now they were up inside the top 4 with Almirola, Kyle Busch, Michael McDowell, and Bubba Wallace. So now you're starting to have a 2 wide, 10 rows deep battle now for the lead, instead of what I thought was going to be more or less just of a freight train up until just a handful of laps remaining. But then when that happened, just multiple drivers switched lanes. Byron went up, Jones went up, Larson went back down. It was a lot of aggressive racing, and it just got more chaotic the closer we got to the end of the race. But Eric Jones was able to hold his ground and coming to 2 laps to go, off of turn number 4, coming to the final lap, it seemed as if as he was sitting in the catbird seat, since there was no one side by side. The outside lane, they all, lost all their energy, lost all the momentum. It seemed as though that with this single file freight train and how the runs are not as big as they once were, it looked as if Jones was sitting in the catbird seat. Again, the only time we saw drivers side by side was 7th or 8th place. But Ross Chastain and Kyle Larson, they got hooked together. And it looked as though Larson would maybe make a move on the back straightaway, but he stays in line. William Byron, though, he jumps out to the high line to try and pick up Justin Haley and Alex Bowman, but there's no momentum there. We stay single file up front. Kurt Busch then jumps to the outside lane. Chastain gives him a little contact. Truex, Bubba Wallace, and Kurt Busch on the outside lane. Larson lays back. He's going to get a huge push from Ross Chastain. Jones is out too far. He's a sit-and duck. Larson gets a huge run, goes to the outside, gets into Kurt Busch, who then collects Bubba Wallace. Chastain on the inside sneaks by to steal the win for the second time in his career. He wins at Talladega, his second win of 2022, and he led only 1 lap. But he led the most important lap to be able to win Talladega. Bubba took a hellacious hit to the outside wall. He was pretty shaken up, but he was okay, as well as Kurt Busch. Both of them took huge hits to the outside wall. But what a finish that was. Those last 15 or so laps were so awesome to watch. A lot of aggressive, hard racing, but they were able to keep it going. There were even some moments where Kurt Busch got loose heading into turn number 1 and nearly wrecked. Somehow was able to save it, keep his momentum going. The racing in the final few laps was just really intense to watch. And Chastain, who stayed on the bottom, didn't make a move, was able to take home the checkered flag. Let's look at the race results. Ross Chastain wins. Austin Dillon, Kyle Busch are top 3. Kyle Larson ends up finishing in 4th. Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, and Ryan Blaney rounds out the top 11. Then it's Justin Haley, Eric Almirola, Corey LaJoie, William Byron, Kurt Busch, and Bubba Wallace end up finishing 16th and 17th. Denny Hamlin, now he fell off coming to the final lap, or coming to the final few laps after I think it was reporting either no fuel pressure or simply ran out of gas. Landon Castle and Noah Gragson rounds out the top 20. Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, and then you see the remaining other drivers like Keselowski, Reagan, Yaley, McLeod, Gilliland, Ware, Cole Custer, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. All these drivers were caught up in accidents like Daniel Suarez, Joey Logano, Ty Dillon, Harrison Burton, Greg Biffle had a fuel pump issue, had no power, Daniel Hemrick, Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher, and Tyler Reddick. Now, Tyler Reddick, he had to retire from the race really early on I think lap 33 it was, where he went under the hood, had engine issues, and was out of the race real early. And a look at your playoff grid after Talladega. 16 races to go in the regular season until Daytona. Now, William Byron, Ross Chastain, the only 2 drivers with 2 wins in 2022. Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney still plus 100 points. Joe Logano plus 66. Not much real change. Austin Dillon, no, he moves from 17th to the 15th position. Christopher Bell now just 1 point ahead of Tyler Reddick. Eric Jones minus 12. Kurt Busch jumps up inside the top 20 minus 25, tied with Daniel Suarez. All right, let's talk about this race. This race, it was a bit of not as exciting as Daytona, but much more cleaner. Daytona, it just got pretty chaotic near the end. Talladega was still chaotic, but it was still somewhat clean. Not as much action, though. A lot more single-file racing than I expected it to be, but it was still pretty entertaining. Again, especially those final half stage, the half stage of the final stage was really fun to watch. Some really hard-nosed racing, clean racing, I should say. From a broadcast perspective, this was Fox's best race, I feel like. Dale Jr. coming on the broadcast, he added a wealth of information, made the broadcast so much better. He really clicked with Mike Joy and Clint Boyer. Fox's, the camera angles were a lot better. They took a lot more aerial shots. I think maybe Junior said something to the Fox producers like, hey, maybe take more aerial shots, not so much bumper shots or close-up shots. They did still have that, but the camera angles were a lot better. The fact that they were at the racetrack again with the stage reminds me of old race day. It seems as though it's permanent. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope that's the case. Less commercials, I felt like. Just the broadcast, the commentary, just everything about it was much better than the entire year so far from Fox Sports. So I think this was their best race from a broadcasting perspective. Dale Jr., incredible commentator. He added a lot to the broadcast and he made it much more enjoyable. From a racing perspective, again, it wasn't like amazing. It was all right. I thought it was solid racing. It was a good race. It wasn't, the typical super speedway races where they just throw their brains and take it out the window and just wreck, and we have like 4 or 5 overtime finishes. No, we basically stayed green up until the dry oval. I was quite surprised. Again, aggressive racing, but they kept it going. They kept it straight, which was a nice change of pace, to say the least. But from a racing perspective, broadcasting perspective, just everything together, this was probably the best showing of a cup race this year so far. Now let's talk about that finish. All right, I know that's what a lot of people want to talk about. The finish was pretty chaotic and controversial. Kyle Larson, this is the 3rd time, I swear. It happened at the LA Coliseum. He basically just shoved Justin Haley into the wall at a payback. At Fontana, the spotter called it way too late for Larson to, jump back up to block Elliott. But this time, a lot of people are shitting on Larson. And while I understand that. At the same time, and again, this is why I always kind of find it funny where a fan's perspective, when they've never sat in the race car, they've never been in that position before, is telling, a driver that's currently in this position how they would race. It's like, from Larson's perspective, when you get a huge run like that, and you're that close for the lead, I understand why some people are pissed off that he basically just shoved Kurt into the wall. But at the same time, it's kind of like you have this run of momentum. And it wasn't like he body slammed him. It wasn't like they were neck and neck. Larson was almost clear of Kurt. Wasn't completely, but was almost clear. And I think from Larson's mind, probably had a feeling that if he can get that run, get that launch from Truex, he can use that momentum and maybe use that momentum to be able to clear Kurt. He probably felt like he was clear of Kurt to be able to jump to the high lane. To maybe have a shot at the win on Chastain. That's what makes sense to me. I don't think if Larson was really neck and neck with Kurt, he would not have come up the racetrack like that. I think Larson, in his view, with the draft and the momentum and the speed he had, Kurt didn't have much help behind him. So Kurt was starting to fall back just a little bit. Larson moving a bit forward. Larson's mind, hopefully he would think it would stick. He could move up in front of Kurt, maybe ever so slightly, to battle Chastain. That's my view of the finish. I can understand why people are upset with Larson. Yeah, I think a lot of people are taking what Larson did way too seriously. Now, Bubba Wallace, not surprised to see him. Like, he showed a lot of speed here today. Toyotas, 2311 Racing, they showed some speed, specifically Bubba Wallace. And he took a hellacious hit. He's been taking some hard hits. He took a hard hit at Atlanta, which he said was the worst, I think, of his career. I'm pretty sure Talladega might top that list because he went hard into the outside wall. Thank goodness for those Safer Bears. They have had a spotlight on themselves this weekend. The Safer Bear has taken a lot of hits this weekend, and this was another example of that. But Bubba got out of the car. He was shaken up, but he was okay. Unfortunately, of course, you have people on social media. This is when the races come out of their holes to try and listen. If you don't like Bubba, that's fine, but they take it way too far. Anyways, I digress. I enjoyed the race, even though it had its moments. It wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. It had its moments. I gave it maybe a 7.5 out of 10. It wasn't the best, wasn't the greatest, but I thought it was all right. I thought it was pretty good. I just wanted to explain that finish because there's a lot of people that are just jumping on Larson relentlessly. And again, I can understand that, but I do think we need to take a step back, let the emotions calm down, and really dissect what happened in that final lap. But Chastain did absolutely nothing. He just stood there. He didn't make a single move. He just got a push. He just pushed Larson, let Larson do his thing. Jones moved up so far up the racetrack. I don't think he expected Chastain to get such a run because he got that run from Truex. Chastain did. I don't think Jones even knew Chastain was even there. Because the way he moved up so far up the track to block Larson. There was so much room for Chastain. I don't think Jones even realized Chastain was there until he saw that red number 1 car go by him on the inside. But that was an awesome finish. That was an awesome finish and a great race. And I enjoyed this race. Everything, top to bottom, broadcasting, like I said, racing, everything about it was really good. Still, there are some issues that Fox has, but it was the best broadcast I think they've put on so far this season. That is going to conclude this episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. What are y'all's thoughts on this race? Did you like it? Did you not? Tell me in the comment section down below. But until next time, my name is Jet from MDK. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. And congratulations to Ross Chastain for the second time this year. He's your winner at Talladega.